Hi everyone. As promised, I will doing some of the business talk or the business study. So today I will do a vlog about the business case study, the solar roof. Um, some of you may not know what is solar roof. The solar roof is the rooftop tile that actually used to gather the solar light. I think this idea had been there very long ago. When I was young, one of my relative house actually used this to gather the sunlight and warm the heater so they can use at night to save the energy. But the investment is very high for most of the house, and it's not beautiful at all, and it's not so durable. So today we were talking about the recent announcement from Elon Musk. um, Elon Musk actually have coal and actually doing one of the company called Tesla. I think most of the people know, and he's also actually doing a company called Solar City, and they actually co-developing the new material called solar roof. And what is so unique about this solar roof? First thing, as something that actually break the human norm, it actually break a lot of trade-off. Um, there's three trade-off that actually this announcement had made. The first thing is actually emphasis on three things. The first thing they're saying is powerful. Powerful means that it actually be able to supply a lot of power. Second, it is beautiful. So mean that it can keep a lot of power and it's very beautiful. And the third thing is actually it's affordable. So it's actually the same price with normal tile. Actually, this is something that I would like to talk about. When we just actually seeing this, some of us actually don't know why this case study is actually so important to the industry. Uh, Most of the people know that because this is a disruption. So Elon Musk is actually trying to disrupt this market by actually produce something as cheap as other brand, more beautiful or as beautiful, but it's actually add one more function. It's actually can gather the power. So years back when actually we just actually start doing sales off, we have one customer. Actually, if I remember it correctly, the Super 8, and I think they actually have a vision about the solar cell and the solar cell product. I remember they actually doing something like the solar things lighting where you can actually put in the garden and then it lighten at night, and that kind of things uh, is interesting, but they are not think big enough. So we would explore the idea why when Elon Musk do is such a big thing, and when some of the company in Thailand or in Malaysia do, it's not such a big thing. Like the company I mentioned before, Super 8. I'm not sure whether they still survive, but I don't think so, because I think maybe they will not get the the investment. So I will talking about the business model here as well. The first keyword that I would like to talk about is the word trade-off. The trade-off is the term used. Say I learned first learn this word in my macroeconomics class, and what it does mean is when price and quality to property, could be any property, is a concern. So in economics, it's like price and quality is a concern. When you trying to increase one of the good property of one of the things, the other thing will reduce. For example, if you're trying to increase the quality, the price function, the affordability will actually decline, or it's get worsen. When something getting better, the other side will get worsen. Or if you're trying to improve the price by actually lower down the price, mean that it's actually more affordable, then the quality will go down. So When something get better, price get better, the quality is going down. So this is the first term, trade-off. The second thing I would like to talk about is the second keyword is called innovation and invention. I think in the past when we're actually talking about the modern history of invention, we quite mix up between invention and innovation, and I think we don't know exactly what is the quality difference between these two. So I think to be able to define this, I think it will be more precise when you actually understanding what invention and what is innovation. In general, when you actually mention about invention means the process of something that actually making a creation of a product or an introduction of a process for the first time. For example, when someone just actually invent a car, when invent a light bulb, so it's the first time, nobody done it before. So whether it's being deployed or not, like maybe someone actually invented the flying drinking water for the first time. Nobody do it before, but if nobody use, it's still called invention. So invention is the process of making something new. So to speak, if it's just new, it's okay. The innovation in a general broad sense mean is actually also mean new, but what actually innovations mean in general mean innovation mean when someone remove a trade-off between two property, a big property, and make a significant contribution to the existing product or the process or the service and make it available and affordable for mass. So again, in the process of making an invention, you're just actually making something new. But when in the process of making innovation, you need to pass at least two criteria. The first criteria is you need to break some certain form of trade-off. In the previous example is the quality and the price, affordability. So to speak, you need to increase the affordability at the same time you increase the quality, or you maintain one of the side. Like for example, you maintain the affordability and you increase the quality, or you actually maintain the quality and you increase the affordability, make it cheaper. So in this sense, it's quite interesting to see how the product that actually made by Elon Musk fit into innovation or not. Innovation don't need to be a new invention. It don't need to be totally new things. It can be a new things that being introduced in existing process and make it break through the trade-off and be able to actually make it deployable to mass. So let's look into the trade-off property of what the solar roof that Elon Musk and the Solar City is actually trying to offer. They're saying that the product is, the emphasis, the first thing is the quality of it, or so to speak, the beauty of it, the functionality of it, the aesthetic look of it is very unique, and it's look even better than the existing tile that we actually put in on the rooftop. So the first thing is it's actually beautiful, so to speak. The second thing, they actually say that the functionality is even better because actually it can gather light and you can actually producing something very they're saying that it actually come out with the announcement of the new battery type that actually can gather a lot of electricity. They call the solar wall or something, version 2, which actually can double the collection of the electricity. And the third thing is it's actually cost the same with the normal existing rooftop. if you actually imagine that thing is the same price, it's actually producing some electricity, and electricity could mean you can actually generating an income, or you can reduce your expenses by be able to reduce the expenses of the electricity cost, or you will be able to actually sell the electricity to someone else. It means a big things because it's really disrupt, and Elon Musk actually aim for the mass market. So if this is available to the mass and it's actually available at a very cheap price, it really gonna disrupt the market. So the first thing we learn about the trade-off. So trade-off is very important when you do innovation. You need to break the trade-off. Mean that you need to increase both of the property. In the technical term, there's some science that I see study about how you break this trade-off called TRIZ, T-R-I-Z. Actually, the inventor is a Russian, and I think they have 40 rules of conversion to actually reducing the trade-off. So I'm not talking here. Maybe if I have time, I will actually talk about this in the future. And the second keyword, we're talking about invention and innovation. And the third keyword, I will actually talking about the competition. In the competition, I would like to introduce a technical term called fair. I think we all heard what it means fair. For example, many people in Thailand or in many countries, we talking about fair in terms of fair trade. Many people don't notice, but I think the word fair and the word free have the opposite meaning in general sense. Because when you talk about fair means that a manipulation, so the weaker can perform as okay as the big one. It's called fair trade. Mean that even though a small country actually trade with the superpower, you will be able to get enough of the right to actually doing a trading. But when you're talking about free trade, it doesn't mean it's fair, and most of the time free mean unfair. In general sense, free mean unfair. So when you talk about free market, normally it introduces a lot of unfairness to the competition. So we'll learn about the term fair and unfair. Unfair is pretty much a free. When you go to the free form, anything also possible in a competition. And when we actually in the actual business, we knowing that in the business there's all the tactics that people put in to win the game. So it may not be considered fair. So, but I think we emphasize this in the social things because I think this is a good thing to have to protect weak and also be able to make a last-longing sustainable competition. But in many cases, it's not the case for the world to be. So why I'm actually talking about fair and unfair, because lately there's a technical term called linear competition and non-linear. Also to speak, we are talking about a fair competition and unfair competition. When we talk about this, we need to understanding the history of the business. In the past, I think if you look back into the maybe when we start doing the industrial revolution, it's been a long way. We actually go and enter the industrial revolution 4, and what it mean by industrial revolution is mean that in the old time, I think the company is driven by resource. When it be driven by resource, first thing, any of the company that actually start up into this world, you will have unfair disadvantage. I mean that you don't have any resource, and you just one person. So you are trying to understand those things and actually climb up the ladder. Or you actually based on improvement, access to the resource. I will call this fair advantage. So in the old time, everyone trying to get the fair advantage toward the competition. So that's why they call it linear competition. Linear competition means that you must get a few things to be able to compete. If you get more, you get a better one, your competition will be better. I will call this 7M. 7M is actually related to the resource, and mainly it's a resource because most of the time when you're looking into the existing in the contemporary, the 7M is still applicable in our mentality. So the 7M consists of, first is man, mean that manpower. So most of the time when we're actually talking about the company, we're talking about manpower, we talk about who doing what, we talk about organization. Second, we talk about material. Material, if you're in the industry, you're talking about the material could include energy source, it include raw material, it include those things that actually used to process. So access to this, especially in the agriculture, will be very important to get the fair advantage. The third is money. So in a capitalism, in the early state of the development of the capitalism, money is very important, and money is the core competency to make someone is actually getting better, especially in the 90s where there's a lot of money techniques that being created. So you can actually utilize not only the existing fund, but you also actually can doing the funding, can gather the future money. And number 4 is management. So the fourth M is management. So management have been introduced the great things to the process to optimize, to do something with better productivity. So when we talk about management, we think of MBA. So the MBA is such a buzzword in the 80s and the 90s. Everyone want to go and study MBA. And number 5 is the machine. So last time, who actually use a better machine will actually producing a better result. I remember when we actually start doing the cooking, I'm actually making the flour of the banh mi. That actually we opened the cafe in Thailand, and we learned from Malaysia how to making the banh mi, the flour. It took me like 3 hours to making a 2 kilo of banh mi. But when you're actually using the machine, you can actually make a 10 kilos within like 15 minutes, and it's with ease. I think it's a better quality, cheaper, and faster. So it's such an innovation. And the number 6 is minutes, or it means time. So the resource is related to time and space. I think so. Time and space is actually such important resource in a management as well. And the last but not least is actually the method. So the methodology, how you actually manage, how you actually gain the know-how. So the 7 fair advantages contain of man, material, money, management, machine, minutes, and methods. So when you're talking about fair advantage is always actually talking about improvement. So you can start from when you imagine yourself actually making a competition. The competitor is this big, you are this small, competitor is this big. You started to lower the gap by actually growing yourself up until you become bigger. So this is called fair advantage. So you started to build your own capability and be able to compete with someone actually better than you. So it's always start with nothingness, and then you start to build up, start to learn, start to build. That's why we call linear, because linear is mean you start to build something and it's predictable along the time it's actually start to go to from the left bottom to the top right things, if it's a graph, and it's predictable, or you will not climb like flat or something like that if you not improve. But there's also another term called nonlinear. So nonlinear is something that we call this unfair advantage. What do you mean by unfair advantage? It means in a process, there's not only a single way to compete with the big fight, the big competitor. If it's in a warfare, it means this is a guerrilla type of techniques where you have a smaller troop, but you will be able to beat the bigger one. But how you gonna do this? I would like you to imagine that how they fight the big one is not by growing their size to be big and be able to fight with the big one, but by disrupt the big one. For example, if the big one is like a balloon that actually filled with the air or filled with the water, you could be the needle and just plug and bang the whole thing. So the ecosystem of the big system, or you can actually like bomb the whole building with the explosion. So some analogy like that. So to speak, you disrupt it. So instead of compete with the fairness of free competition, it actually make completely new dimension of actually win the competitor. So they're saying that there's some 7 unfair advantage. First thing is monopoly. What monopoly mean is you are the only one who do something. Like for example, many of the rich people in Southeast Asia is the sole monopolization of the cable TV, the telecommunication at the early stage. It could be in Thailand, could be AIS at the beginning, could be like PTT or the petroleum company in Thailand, where they get the sole right to actually get the oil and the gas and delivering this through the pipe, and that's why everything is in control. The same thing for Petronas in Malaysia, they got monopoly. The second thing is brand, a strong branding, emotional bond. So like in Thailand now, I think the black shirt is very sellable because it's a national scheme for our king, because our beloved king just passed away, and everyone actually pay condolence toward him by actually wearing a black shirt, and this one is emotional bonding. And in the modern days, you are not just actually born to the product or the brand, but I think there's a brilliant people that are actually saying that instead of you bond yourself to the brand. Like for example, in the past you get familiar with the Coke, you actually see a lot of Coca-Cola, and you actually associate Coca-Cola with hope, or Pepsi with enjoyment in life, something like that. Lately, the product have evolved into the next one. They use the CEO or those key person to make a story, so people actually admire them and treat them as a hero to save the world. So, well, majority of the people are not the leader with a vision, so it's not quite normal that people will choose someone to follow the vision and trying to execute. It could be somebody like Robert Kiyosaki when you're talking about finance, or when you're talking about the phone company, or the ambition, you're talking about the Steve Jobs, or when you're talking about the hope for those poor to be able to become rich in China, like Jack Ma, or when you're talking about those people that very dynamic in Japan, we think about Son Masayoshi. And this type of strategy is working in all the society, because human are animal that actually wants leader, and at the end we choose leader. So wherever have people, we will always have leader. And the third one is the viral. So it spread like fashionable things. It could be anything. It could be like someone actually top star actually wearing it. And the number 4 is disruption. Disruption means you break the norm. You break something that people, like for example, when I first used Gmail, they offer completely, I remember that it's first 1 gig. And on that time, I think Microsoft is offering Hotmail is like 50 megabyte, and you always need to clear. It's the whole new world for me. And this type of disruption is a norm, a new norm already. And the leanness or stay lean, cost leadership, it used to be fair advantage, but now lean is unfair advantage. You can see China, you can see India, you can see Southeast Asia when we grow. And sometimes we don't understand. I think it actually super lean, especially the product from China. There must be some magic putting there to actually reduce the price. Like when Xiaomi doing this model, they're actually calculating the 3 years cost of the product, and they set the price, not like more expensive and reduce the price. They actually make it cheap and continue to be the same price. It's quite a disruptive lean model. And number 6 is expertise, special expertise. When you're talking about like politics, we think of hydrogen bomb or nuclear bomb. Everyone wants to have one because it's very threatening. So, well, if they have World War II or World War III, sorry, it's a switch war. Nobody will die. Everybody will die. But there will be no conventional type of war anymore. Or the AI, the artificial intelligence. So if you have expertise, those countries will get rich, other countries will get poor, because it's the things that you cannot catch up anymore. And the last one is hard to copy, or it's one-way copy. For example, China is one-way copy Japan and Korea, and then the government are actually not paying attention, or actually purposely not actually allow the regulation to play the role. So local player can slowly monopolize and copy one side. Like for example, when Google launched in China, government don't allow Google to actually use directly. So there is a copy version of Google, there's a copy version of Facebook, there's a copy version of YouTube, and there's a copy version of Twitter. But the opposite is not true. So Japan, US cannot copy China back because they have nothing to be copied. So this is an unfair advantage. So in this business case, it's very, very fun to see more and more people are trying to disrupt the market. And in order for us to survive, we need to understand how disruption works and how to grow our company in a non-linear way. So to summarize, today we're actually talking about Tesla and SolarCity on the solar roof. We're talking about the trade-off. We're talking about invention and innovation. In general, we're talking about fair and free or fair and unfair advantage. So I hope this video help us to realize something important in our business. Don't play a knife game. So we need to be prepared for any situation, both fair competition and unfair competition. We need to gain both fair advantage and unfair advantage when we actually in business. So see you in next video, in next business case. Thank you.
The interesting thing is the houses you see around you are all solar houses. So we're going to show you, this is the before shot of that house over there. So that's what it looked like before. Now that's all solar. Yeah. I think we've got some close-up shots that we can show. And if you look carefully, you can actually see the solar cells behind the glass. So this is a textured glass tile. If you look carefully, you can see the solar cells. Yeah, you can see that. So we have a malfunction on the LED. So, right, so that house is also solar, and that's a sort of a style of a French slate, which is one of the hardest things to do. It's considered one of the best roofs you can possibly do as a conventional roof. So we said, well, can we make a French slate roof that's solar that looks as good or better than a conventional French slate roof? And we're able to do that as well. That's done with hydrographic printing. So each tile is unique. So the production process itself makes each tile special and unique, a sort of special snowflake tile. But the nice thing is that no two roofs will be the same. So it's not just cookie cutter. You can take any two roofs like that, and they will look different, because they are different. So. This is what the French slate hydrographic looks like. You can see that. And then the third house is really transformative. Because believe it or not, that's what it looked like before. So we changed the roof, and it was like, whoa, if we put that roof on, we've got to change the house too. So that tile is more of a modern look. And here you can really see, as the angle changes, that you can see the solar cells. Here we put a film with microlouvers on it so that as the angle changes, it goes from transparent to opaque. So from the vantage point of the street or anywhere near the house, it looks completely opaque. But from the sun, to the sun, it's transparent. So. And then probably the most surprising one is the Tuscan glass. So this is also solar panels. We put two versions of the Tuscan glass approach. All of the dark tiles have solar panels. So we interleave a dark and light, and then the dark ones are the ones with solar panels. Again, you can see that the transparency changes quite a bit. So from the sun's vantage point, which tends to be high angle, you can see the solar cells. But as you change the angle to shallow angle, it reverts to sort of a orangey color. As a demonstration video, show you what happens if you drop a big weight on a conventional roof tile and one of our glass tiles. So the solar roof weren't just, we wanted to look better, last longer, provide better insulation, and cost less, all things considered, than a conventional roof.